Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, it's me, Mitch. How are you? Good to see you this afternoon, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock on Saturday. Beautiful sunny day here in Florida. Welcome. Good to see you. I have to fight back the urge to say, welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch. Seems to be getting to be a habit with me every morning. Well, it looks like we got a nice little group filing in for our get-together this afternoon. Good to see you all. I've been sitting here sipping on a little coffee. Something you see me do a lot. And it's not something I do all day. I have my cup in the morning, and I generally have a cup when I do a live stream, but that's it. After that, I'm not usually going to be drinking any coffee during the day, whether it's regular or decaf. And the tension is starting to build here in Florida again. The news is all abuzz about what they're calling Hurricane Milton. Milton is usually a Jewish name. I don't know what to make of that. When it comes to hurricane, I know that a number of years ago, there was a Hurricane Mitch. I don't know how many of you remember Hurricane Mitch. Hurricane Mitch never affected the United States. It went right across, right down into, I believe it was Nicaragua, where my namesake killed 5,000 people in mudslides and the like. I wasn't proud of having that hurricane named after me, so if your name is Milton, any of you, whatever you can do. It doesn't, well, there are some forecasts that say it could get up to a major hurricane, and that's just and headed right for Tampa Bay or thereabouts again. And the people on the West Coast, including where my daughter lives, that's the last thing they need right now is another flood. And if it does reach a major hurricane and it comes right across the state, then I'm in the bullseye. And that happened a year or two ago, and we survived okay, but we did have a lot of scary wind and rain, and that's kind of what Hurricane Charlie did. That was a number of years ago, back in 2004, when I lived in Orlando, and the eye of that storm went right over my house and scared the crap out of me. I got to tell you, I stayed home, and I was waiting for the house to pull a Wizard of Oz, Dorothy kind of tornado thing on me. But we survived. Took a full day for them to clear the streets of all the fallen trees. We couldn't get out, couldn't get our cars out. And it was a mess, a lot of cleanup, a lot of damage. So I'm hopeful that we don't go through that again. I'm all set as far as supplies go. There's nothing I need to buy. I'm still all set from the last one, and I still got plenty of food, especially since that little trip I made a few days ago. So it's just a matter of sitting and waiting, seeing if it develops, and if it does develop, each day we'll have a little better idea of where it may be headed, and there is a potential or a possibility that they might order us to evacuate, and in that case I might say, well, where in the hell can we evacuate to? I don't know. Get tired of this stuff sometimes, but I guess it's all part of living in Florida. But it does worry you, does stress you out in the meantime. Hard to be happy. I'm glad I recorded that morning coffee video this morning before I watched the latest weather forecast. I was much happier and having a good time when I recorded that. I was going for laughs. I think my whole demeanor might have been a little different if I had tried to do that after I watched that foreboding weather forecast. So we'll see. We'll see. Wish me luck. I'll let you know. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it in live streams, talk about it on my morning coffee video as anything kind of distills and becomes more certain about what this thing is going to become. I don't think in any event it can be as bad as Helene. But it doesn't have to be as bad as Helene to, at worst, do a lot of damage, and on a lesser side to just disrupt your life for a few days and inconvenience the hell out of you. But we'll see. We'll see. Other than that, I was tickled by the comments that you left on my morning video, guys. Very flattering, and I'm glad so many of you found it funny. I was going for laughs with that video, even though the message I put out this morning is real. I mean, I really believe in what I said this morning. I really, really believe that everything that happens, everything that seems weird, every bit of human behavior that seems random and unpredictable is not and can all be traced back to some root cause. There's always something that causes us to do what we do and behave the way we behave. It is not just random chance when more than one person does it. When everybody seems to be doing it, there's a cause. And even though I used this morning's video as an opportunity to talk about this subject, this was a subject that I've had on my mind for quite a while, waiting for an excuse or a hook to use in a video to actually talk about it. And the point that I really wanted to make in this video, and the toilet paper mad rush was a great excuse to bring this concept in. But the actual concept that I've had on my mind for a long time, and I've never found the right vehicle to really talk about it until now, is that we are a society now of astronomical amounts of intestinal and digestive disorders and distress, discomfort and pain, different disease, some serious enough to have your bowels removed, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, a little lesser than that, inflammatory bowel disease, or inflammatory bowel syndrome, IBS. But even people without those severe gastric disorders are still bloated and constipated and uncomfortable and having miserable bathroom experiences constantly. And the cause of that is not a mystery. It's a plant-based diet. It's the human body's reaction to eating plants. We aren't supposed to eat plants. Well, we've been talking about this for a long time. We know that plants are not the natural thing for us to eat in any situation other than probably survival. But it's what we got. It's what's been fostered on us for 100 years. And it's no coincidence that these gastric and digestive problems have grown along with the adoption of the plant-based diet. I just hadn't found a good vehicle to use to introduce the subject until the toilet paper shortage. And that didn't even come to me right away. It was really funny. I was sitting around thinking about why the hell do people panic over not having enough toilet? And then boom, a bell just went off in my head. Because I remembered my own bathroom experiences and how miserable they were and how messy they were. And pardon, if we have to go here, I'm sorry, and I hope it isn't too much information, but just how much cleanup was involved every time you went. And I said, wow, maybe these bathroom episodes are actually becoming a major part of the average person's life these days. Hence the importance of not running out of toilet paper. And then it dawned on me that, well, as a carnivore, I could care less about toilet paper. I doubt I use one whole roll a week, if that. Never think about it. I couldn't tell you right now how much toilet paper I have. I might have one roll. I might have 10 rolls. I don't know. I don't keep track of it. I don't think about it. I certainly don't panic when there's a hint of shortages and run to the store to buy toilet paper. And all this stuff kind of came together. And then I said, well, when you're talking about toilet paper, the comedian in me said, geez, there's 10 different ways I can inject the word shit into this in a legitimate way. And that's what I did, and I had a really good time doing that. And I had a lot of comments. People told me they were rolling on the floor laughing. And I'm glad it was funny and entertaining. That's the way I meant it. But I did want the message to get through, too. I mean, I really do think that that's how important toilet paper has become in our life. And I think the root cause of it is too much plant-based diet. May be wrong. I have a shirt, you've all seen it, that says, I may be wrong, but I doubt it. So thanks for the reception on that video. I was hoping it'd go over and I wouldn't get a lot of crazy trolls. And I haven't so far. That's great. No insults. I think that's a new first. So let's see who's here. Let's see who's here today. Who was the first one in this morning or this afternoon? Let me scroll back to the chat. We had Rice and Beans, 10:40 a.m. Wish we could organize a carnivore convention. Well, the key word here, my friend, is organize. It is not a simple thing to organize any kind of convention. Generally very expensive. You have to get places, you have to get hotels, people have to arrange travel. I don't think there's enough carnivores to warrant that. We get some carnivores to the keto conventions, and even here in Orlando last year, that was, in my estimation, kind of a flop. In fact, this next year, they took the name keto out of it completely. They're calling it like a health convention or health, something to do with health. No keto, no carnivore even mentioned in the name. I'm not going. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I don't even know if it's going to even resemble anything that talks about low-carb or carnivore diets. Turamir, how you doing? Good to see you. Day 36 on the lion diet. My weight started to come down again, and I am down to 180 pounds. Energy levels normal. I feel so good. Good for you, my friend. Glad to hear that. Michael Seeley, United Carnivore. Welcome. Greetings from Tampa Bay. Buckle up, Michael. Here we go again, buddy. Who else? Father of United. And wherever Michael is, Pop isn't far behind. This is Michael Seeley, Sr. from over here in Melbourne. Peter's here. How you doing, Peter? Papa Carnivore. And this was still all before the stream started. Sandy Blythe, anxiously waiting. And here we are. CB is here. CB Carmack, getting ready to roll people's trees in the yard with all this toilet paper. Hey, meat family. Good to see you, CB, our Alabama sheriff. Good to see you. United Carnivore says, everyone in Florida, I watch for updates. We have another, yeah, I know, just talked about that. Nick Sheeson is here. How you doing? Good to see you. Ellen, Scooby the dog, good to see you. Gary Williams is here. Welcome, Laurie Whitesoul. Happy Saturday to you, too. Randy K is here. How you doing, Randy? Glad you could make it. Stephen Albeck. I will have a good one. Thanks so much. Grandma Prepper is here. Says good afternoon. And HWMOL Liberty says hello. Hello back at you. Healthy Carnivore UK. Sadly, can't stay for this one, but have a great time, everyone. Well, sorry you couldn't stay, but always good to see you. I do see all of your comments. Always flattering. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Mark Whistler's here. We met Mark the other night on Thursday night. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you. Greetings, everyone. Another beautiful Saturday. Visit will be short tonight. My 93-year-old mother says, well, I'll tell you what, if you got a 93-year-old mother, spend as much time as you can with her. Absolutely. I would. JJJ, 3 dashes. Just sat down with some ground beef, perfect timing. That's what I ate today. Ground beef, about 2 pounds of it. I had one huge meal. I don't think I'll eat the rest of the day. I was cutting up that 10-pound chub that I bought, packaging it up to freeze it, and I just lopped off a couple pounds and said, well, I won't freeze this. I'll just eat this today. And I did. And I'm stuffed. Satya Khalsa, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. Looking for somebody new that I haven't said hi to. Less junk, more health. Hey, Mitch. Hi, you all. Good to see you. Good to see you. And something I like about these people, they chat. Dirty Larsonite just ate a frittata. Good for you, man. I need to make one of those. I haven't made one of those in a couple of weeks. Good idea. Good idea. Blue Rose. Lion. Hello from Montana. Good to see you. I don't guess you get many hurricanes in Montana. Maybe I should move to Montana. Gary Williams is here. Milton Burrell. Hi, Gary. How you doing? Moorhen. Good to see you from over there across the pond. Polish Mike says, hello, boss. Laurie Ribideau is here. Wishes everybody a happy Saturday. Gary Williams, did I say hi to you? I think I may have already, but just to be sure. Kate is here. Hi, Kate. I see you buy pork rinds from Sam's Club. When do you eat them? I eat them only with my meals. I don't snack. So I will never eat anything between my meals. I've talked about that on many of my videos. I probably should talk about it more. But I don't believe snacks are appropriate. I believe eating a meal, letting it completely digest, and then get ready to eat again. And when you eat again, it should be a complete meal. This grazing habit that humans have gotten into comes from eating sugar and having to eat it every couple hours. So we end up grazing all day, like a cow in the pasture, just eating all day. And we're not supposed to do that. That's not how our digestive cycle works. So if I'm going to eat pork rinds, I'll eat them as a side dish. I especially like to eat them with smoked salmon on top. But I'll just use them kind of as a cracker substitute. Or maybe just take a handful of pork rinds and throw it on a plate along with some ground beef or something. But I'll eat it at the same time as I eat my meal. I consider it part of a meal. Coco is here. How you doing? I'm tired of it too. As you said, where did you go? I don't know what reference that's to, Coco, but I'll imagine maybe you're answering somebody else in the chat. And I'm seeing a lot of the same names here. Steve Studley's here. Welcome all. Good to see you, Steve. Valerie Thompson. Hello all, she says. So good to see you. Good to see you too, Valerie. Always. Valerie, Scooby, Steve Studley, Pop Carnivore, United Carnivore, Rice and Beans. Ivy, how you doing? Ivy loves me. I'm amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. I love I love compliments. They make me feel good. It's always, we all do. It's great to be appreciated, and I appreciate the compliment. Alice Zanto is here. Hi, Alice. How you doing? That's a nice smile you've got. If that's your picture, and I have to assume that it is. Welcome. I don't recognize the name, so maybe this is the first time you're here. Good to see you. Good to see you. We try to make a star out of everybody that shows up here, at least in the beginning, anyway. And Brianna is here. Brianna from New Zealand. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Helena Kuhn. Hi, Helena from Germany. Guten Tag. Wie geht's? See, I remember a little bit of German, just a little bit. I was stationed in Germany for a couple of years, but that was over 50 years ago. And I remember a little bit of it. I never could speak it fluently. I couldn't have a political conversation with somebody, let's say, but I knew Gasthausdeutsch, which is like restaurant German, and I could get by out in society and make my wishes known. And a lot of the German people spoke English, so it was really great. But I got along great over there, and I loved the country. It was beautiful, beautiful country. Turamir, question. I'm in a phase where I don't need to eat that much during the day. Could this already be stage 2 of the carnivore diet? Like I know I should eat, but I don't feel that hungry. I'm going to get rid of that question because it's covering my pretty face. I know that, I think was it Curry, Homestead Howe, who first came up with the 5 stages of carnivore. I'm not going to say I disagree with that. I tend to be a lot in my own approach to pretty much anything. I don't like to measure things. I don't like progress markers. I don't like any artificially applied standard stage. I don't like that. I think certain things should happen naturally, and it's not up to us to determine when one particular phase ends and the next phase starts. The first change that happens on carnivore is you start prioritizing fat as your primary fuel and stop prioritizing sugar. When that happens and your brain learns that you're not dead in a day without sugar, it stops feeding you these intense cravings that are irresistible. Whether that takes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 3 months, it's up to an individual. So you can't just arbitrarily say stage 1 lasts 29 days, 6 hours, and 5 minutes. You can't assign an arbitrary time to any of the different things that you notice. I think that if you have weight to lose, and you've transitioned into that fat burning stage, that yes, you might not have hunger signals as strong because you're getting at the tremendous amount of fuel that you have spread around your body. And your subconscious programming pretty well knows that if you're driving around in a car with a full gas tank, you don't need to keep stopping at a gas station every 5 minutes. Wait till the low fuel light comes on. Then create the urge to go fill up again. And that might be happening to you. I wouldn't force it. I don't think I'd force it. I think, and I have enough faith in human physiology to know that when your body needs food, it's going to tell you. it'll let you know you will get hungry. And if you're not all that hungry and not experiencing symptoms of tremendous weakness and starving to death, which could happen in the first week or two or three, so I wouldn't worry about symptoms that occur that early. Your body's going through a hell of a transition. I wouldn't worry about it. And if you feel like eating a little more, eat a little more. But when that happened to me, and it did happen to me, I just followed my body's cues. If I wasn't hungry, I didn't eat. When I ate, I pretty well settled into around 2 pounds of food a day. And I kind of set that as a goal. Some days after I finished my 2 pounds, I still felt a little hungry, but not major, so I didn't worry about it. And some other days when I was getting close to finishing my 2 pounds or so of food, I got to the push the plate away stage. But I usually finished it anyway, and I've been doing this over 2 years now, and things have really settled out. Pretty steady. My weight is like nailed right on the money. It doesn't move. It doesn't go up or down. My energy levels are good. I'm an old man, so I have to take that into account as well. I'm not going to react the way a younger person might react or a 40-year-old might react, but I'm very satisfied with it. So I hope that answers your question about whether you're, and it's a common thing that people have about eating enough or not eating enough. And most people think that they need to be in charge of how much they eat from a scale and a weight standpoint. They think, well, I want to lose weight faster, I need to eat lesser. I'm losing weight too fast. I don't try to regulate that. Just follow your body's hunger cues for a while and see what happens. See what happens. If you start losing weight way too fast, add a little food in. That's all. But day to day, I don't know. That's about the best advice I can give you. It's not medical advice. It's very simple. It's a philosophy that I have, that our physiology and our programming that allowed our species to survive all those millions of years until we showed up must have some smarts. Let it do its thing. Let it do its thing. Thanks for the question, Turner. It was a good question. We have Blue Rose Lion, no hurricanes, but you get earthquakes and freezing temperatures. I don't know. I think no matter where you live, you always got some kind of disaster to look out for. Dobie Duke, pork rinds are really good to break a fast. That's another thing I don't do. I don't fast. I fast every day. I fast for 18, 19, maybe 20 hours every day, but I don't ever do extended fasts. I suppose if I had a lot of weight to lose, that might be a good strategy. And I imagine that if you took, I use pork rinds like croutons in soup. It's great. You take some bone broth or beef soup and throw a bunch of croutons in there. It's fabulous. So that would be a great way to break a fast. Brianna, 56ism. The old guy is awesome. I agree. Thanks. They say no false modesty here. I don't think the world's discovered that yet, Brianna. I don't think they ever will either. So many people just look at older people and just immediately label them irrelevant. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but the older you get, the more you will. The more you'll notice. The more you'll notice that. Rafsida, how you doing? Good to see you. And I think that that's enough saying hi to the early birds. We're up to about 20 minutes after 3 in the chat, and here comes Sherry Morgan. Hiya, Sherry. How you doing? Thank you so much for that. I've been watching some carnivore experts say it takes about a year before becoming fat adapted. Your thoughts, please, and how long did it take you? That really is an excellent question, because I've heard everything from 2 weeks to as much as a year. And I think it all depends on, I'm going to thank you for the super chat, and I'm going to take it off the screen so it's not to, so I don't have to keep peeking above it. It depends, I think, on what parameters you're using to define fat adapted. And I think fat adapted could mean so many different things physiologically. Because I think that there can be a broad range of just how fat adapted you might be. Because we're all metabolically flexible to a certain extent. Even somebody that prioritizes sugar, even somebody that prioritizes sugar as their primary fuel and is on a low-fat diet and is carrying 100 pounds extra body fat around with them, even if they continue to eat the way they've been eating, but eats a lot less and starts to work out a lot more, expending more energy, is going to use some of those fat burning pathways and burn up some body fat. People on those torturous eat less, move more diets still lose weight. It's tough, it's painful, it's torture, it damages, does long-term damage to metabolism, but it still manages to burn fat. So people like that, at some level, even though it's tiny, are fat adapted. Then there are, at the top end of the scale, there's these world-class Olympic athletes that have been carnivore for years, that probably almost never go out of ketosis. They very rarely, if ever, use their sugar burning pathways, but they still do, because proteins can be metabolized into glucose, and there is still sugar, but they mostly burn fat. They could run like the Kenyans. They can set off running and continue to run for days, just on the body fat they have, and they're relatively thin to start out. These people are extremely fat adapted. So what level? And the way I kind of look at it is, if you're a carbohydrate addict, Sherry, the percentage that you have achieved on that fat adapted scale, and again, we don't even know exactly what they mean by fat adapted, because there's so many different physiological changes that happen in the body besides just the cellular pathways that produce what they call acetyl coenzyme A, which is an intermediary in the process of creating energy. And and that process that creates the energy, the electron transport chain, can get its acetyl-CoA from one of two different pathways. One that creates it from fat, and the other that creates it from sugar. So when you're talking about fat burning, we're probably at least referring to the biochemical pathway that's primarily used to create that acetyl-CoA in the cells. Because once that acetyl-CoA is created either by the sugar-burning pathway or the fat-burning pathway, it goes to the same place and is used the same way to create ATP. And, most of us by this time have heard of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the energy currency of the body. And that's the stuff that runs all the little molecular machines in each cell of our body. So when we talk about fat burning, we're talking about just the preliminary stage of the process of creating energy. But fat is used for so many other things in the body. Fat is used for structure and building materials. And so fat adapted could mean a ton of different things. I found, and yes, in my own experience, the longer I'm on carnivore, the easier it is, the less I'm likely to get a craving, the better I'm going to feel. And it's a process. And even over a period as long as 2 years, I fully believe that my body keeps getting more and more adapted to living without sugar, dietary sugar of any kind. Everything kind of stabilizes, it normalizes. I get more satisfied with less and less variety of food. I'm at a point where for a month, if I ate nothing but ground beef patties, I'd still be just as happy and satisfied about my food. It would taste just as good, and I'd look forward to it just as much. It doesn't matter that much. But this type of adaptation to this lifestyle starts to happen pretty quick. And within about 30 days, you've probably gotten 80% or 90% the way towards reducing the cravings wildly. And I think that's the most important thing. And when I talk about being fat adapted, I'm talking about at that point. 30 days in, you sense the change. You see your blood pressure coming down. You feel the energy. You feel the brain fog lift. You notice that you can now control cravings that you couldn't control, and you're having them way less often. It's become so much easier. Your digestion and all the wild bathroom adventures that you may have had after 30 days is normalizing. You're not there yet, but you've got a good head start. And that's what I talk about getting fat adapted. That's what I mean. But yes, if somebody says it takes a year to get fat adapted, it depends on at what level they consider being fat adapted. And I think that's a arbitrary number that everybody can decide for themselves. So I hope that answered your question, Sherry. And if it didn't, let me know and I'll take another shot at it. Let me go down. Anybody has more questions, any questions for me, just type QQQ into the chat and I will be happy to take a stab at them. I can't answer individual medical questions. I can't analyze your blood work. I see Sherry put the word experts in quotes. Yeah, you and I feel the same way. I had my own. There's a couple of different definitions, Sherry, for what an expert means. Some people say an expert is a drip under pressure. My favorite definition of an expert was any traveling salesman more than 50 miles from home knows everything. Is an expert. Just meet one of them at a bar one night, you'll find out. I may give it the old search for the QQQ try and see what I come up with. QQQ. There's the one from Turamir who said he doesn't eat that much. There's the one. How important is salt when you start carnivore? I think salt is always important. It's one of the basic electrolytes. We regulate sodium in our body very carefully. They don't call them electrolytes for no reason. We are, in a lot of respects, a battery-powered organism. We run on energy created by what basically are tiny little batteries called mitochondria in every one of our cells. Because a battery works by having a different level of charge across a membrane. And power is generated when the protons or electrons flow from a more electron-dense side of the membrane to the less dense, and as they pass through some kind of a machine, it makes work happen. And that's how batteries work. And we are battery powered. And for these types of reactions to occur, just like in a car battery, you need electrolytes. And sodium, potassium, magnesium, they are metals. These are metals. They're elements, but they're all metals. And you need those metals. And salt is very important, but so is potassium and magnesium for different reactions that relate primarily to the formation of energy that drives us and runs our body. Now, which one is more important? Who knows? But yes, you need salt. Better, I would think, better to err on the safe side, eat too much salt. There's a lot of fallacies around salt. The medical community poo-poos salt just like they poo-poo red meat and animal fat and everything else that are essential, absolutely essential to life. And the human race is paying the price for listening to that advice. Listen to your body. You can't go wrong. Except don't listen to your body when it tells you to eat donuts, because it's going to tell you that too. That's your addiction taking over. But once you get over you become where you're, and I'll use the term again, a fat burner, where you've adapted to using the fat burning pathways, eating very little sugar. And if you don't eat it, you're not going to burn it because you're not eating it. So you know you're burning fat. I tell people, don't measure anything. Don't measure your ketones. Don't try to control it. Don't try to micromanage it. We're not smart enough or fast enough for that. We could live in a medical laboratory and still not be fast enough. The closest we've come right now is wearing these CGMs, these constant glucose monitors. And they tell us a little bit, but who wants to be hooked up to a machine for the rest of our lives? We are the machine. We have our own sensors. Our subconscious mind knows exactly where our blood glucose level is every millisecond. And if it changes millisecond to millisecond, we're already aware of that. It's not something we need to preoccupy ourselves with. Let it alone. Feed it what it needs in the form of nutrition and let it do its things. It lets you know with cues such as hunger when it wants something. You want to know how much salt to use. Salt to taste. Salt to taste. You have a very, very intricate mechanism in you that rewards you when you have exactly the right amount of salt, because that's when it will taste the best. If you don't have enough salt, you immediately know. Nobody has to tell you, oh, this needs some salt, pass the salt. If you oversalt something and you eat it, you immediately know, oh my God, I put too much, this is way too salty. Nobody has to tell you. Your own built-in laboratory has done all of those measurements for you and spit the result into your conscious mind and called you to some kind of action to fix the problem, whether that action may be to try to get rid of some of the salt or to add some more salt. It's not your decision. So whatever. You also know when something is too hot because it burns the inside of your mouth. We have a built-in laboratory in us that's far superior to the laboratories that we drop off our blood. And we don't have to even draw our blood. It's in there circulating every second of every day, with millions of blood tests being run on it by our body every single day. So it just makes sense to me. I govern all my actions and my advice even based on how did my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather 50,000 generations ago, how did he survive? Because I share almost the same genome as he had, as did every one of the relatives that came over those 50,000 generations that managed to live long enough to reproduce. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. How did he do it? How did he do it? He did it probably better than we do it. Probably because they didn't have the choices we have to err and eat the wrong stuff. At any rate, I hope that answers your question about salt. I take electrolytes. I drink them every day. Not a ton of them, but some of them. My gauge as to whether I know I'm getting enough salt because I've always liked salty foods. But potassium and magnesium, I generally go by, do I get leg cramps, any leg cramps at night? And that's a pretty reliable indicator for me. Pretty reliable indicator. If I go 3 or 4 days without any electrolytes, I'll get not a huge cramp, but I'll start to get cramps. And as soon as I start drinking electrolytes again, I won't get the cramps. So I know that it's having an effect. Magnesium is also a mild laxative, so sometimes you can tell if you're getting too much or not enough magnesium. Fat also controls the consistency of your stools, so maybe a combination of fat and magnesium makes you looser and more solid. But we have gauges, we have ways to tell these things. And there's Turamir's question again. Stephen Halbach is the salt question. Okay, I only see those two. So ask away. It's only 3:45. I don't really have a lot of subjects. Here we go. Here's a question. Why didn't I see these? There they are. Question. Okay. I just covered this one. Any suggestion on do it? LiveStream been taking electrolytes and drinking 2 liters of water. That's, I don't know what electrolytes you're taking, but a lot of these mixes just simply don't have a whole lot of stuff in them. I've seen some electrolyte mixes that have 1,000 milligrams of potassium per dose. I've seen others that have 60 milligrams. 1,000 milligrams in one brand, 60 milligrams in another. You need like, I think the RDA is 4,000 milligrams a day of potassium. How far does 60 go? Not real far. So you might look and see if you're getting enough potassium if you're getting leg cramps. Maybe magnesium to a certain extent. And make sure that if you're not getting a lot of it in your food. Now look at your food. One strip of Wright's extra thick bacon, I think, is 80 or 90 milligrams of potassium. But even still, if you eat 4 or 5 of those a day, that's still not 4,000. That's only 300 or 400 milligrams. Most animal products contain potassium, but you might do a count on the potassium that you're getting and see if you're getting enough, and try to figure out a way to supplement a little more and see if that doesn't cure the leg cramps. The leg cramps seem to be very, very common. That was a question from Blue Rose Lion. These are all good questions, I got to tell you. All good questions. And let me see if I can find these questions on the chat that I can show on the screen. The next question that I have here is from Gary Williams. Do I drink kefir? I don't, Gary. I don't drink dairy whatsoever. I never did. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it, to quote Seinfeld. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just never liked that stuff. I I could never even eat yogurt. I think I was a very fussy eater as a kid. I always overanalyzed everything. And the first time, honest to God, the first time when I was a kid, I think I heard a yogurt commercial, and they were talking about active cultures. And I said to my mother, what does that mean? And they explained it to me that there were basically what I interpreted as a bunch of little bugs crawling around in it. And I swore at that point, no way in hell I'm going to eat something that has bugs crawling around in it. And I developed an aversion to any of that stuff. Most fermented stuff I don't like. Most cheese I've never eaten. Yogurt, sour cream, none of that stuff. I wouldn't even eat butter until I was like 8 years old. I just wanted nothing to do with it. So not only have I never even considered kefir, I'd have a hard time defining exactly what it is because I've never even looked into it. I know that it's just not something I want to deal with. So I can't help you with that. I know there's probably a lot of videos out there, Gary, that do deal with that stuff. And I see Sherry Morgan. Let's see if I can find that question here. Here it is. Sherry, question. Stephanie Keto Person says in her public videos that we may be producing ketones, but not using them on carnivore versus keto. Help me out here, guys. Am I the only one watching this live stream right now of the 105 people that are here to whom Stephanie Keto Person's statement, as relayed to us by Sherry Morgan, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever? And there may be a point, and she may be right. I don't know. I didn't watch that video. I have gotten to the point where I watch almost no keto or carnivore videos from anybody anymore. And the reason that not because I'm a snob, not because I'm jealous, in the past year, I have not learned a single thing I didn't already know or suspect. And it's just so time consuming. And I'm spending all my time trying to make videos, keep up with everything. I don't have time to watch these things, unfortunately. And I don't know who all these, and even some of my favorite, I haven't watched anything. I haven't watched a Ken Berry live stream in months. I haven't watched any Sean Baker. I haven't watched Anthony Chafee, one of his live streams, in 5-6 months. Not because I don't think he's smart. I think they're all brilliant and they all have great points. I'm not looking for the magic bullet anymore. I'm looking only for ways that make more sense and make things simpler and easier, and methods that require less and less conscious manipulation of this and more just falling into the natural rhythms and methods of eating like we're supposed to eat. And it's working. It works for me. It's worked for a lot of you. I don't think that managing ketosis is something we should be fooling with, just like we shouldn't be fooling with most of the other physiological functions. We shouldn't be injecting Ozempic into our butt to try to regulate GLP-1 agonists. I don't think we should be fooling with our body chemistry exogenously, which means from the outside. That's not how we got here. That's not how we got here. I think, if anything, we should be And I never thought I'd say this, but there were the old hippies that just ran around in bare feet all the time, worshiped the sun, tried, most of them, yeah, were vegetarians. They didn't know any better, but they at least tried to eat natural foods, not stuff that came in a box. I think that back to nature in so many respects is the best advice. And people say, well, are you in ketosis a lot? How do you know you're in ketosis? I say, I don't give a shit. I don't worry about it. I don't care. I eat no sugar. If I eat no sugar, I have to be burning fat, don't I? Or making what sugar I need from protein. And I'm getting plenty of that. So I have gluconeogenesis. I have ways to create glucose from protein. So whatever I need, my body makes. I don't need to worry about giving it to myself in pill form, in supplement form. And the only supplements I take, and the only reason I ever advocate for any supplements, is find the things that used to be in the food that aren't in the food today, and maybe supplement those things. That's what's meant by supplement. Supplement itself, the definition, to supplement something, is to pretty much put back what should have been there in the first place. So we know that most of the food that we produce today is deficient in iodine, because iodine is deficient in most of the soils, and since the root of all nutritional trees is going to be coming out of the earth, it's going to be coming out of the soil into the plants, and the animals are going to eat the plants that got the iodine from the soil. So if it wasn't in the soil, it's not in the plants. If it's not in the plants, it's not going to be in the cow. And if it's not going to be in the cow, it's not going to be in us. We need to supplement that. But what we don't need to do is invent new chemicals. Maybe we stumble on something that might be beneficial, but we'll figure out a way to abuse it, overdo it, and end up hurting ourselves in the process. Remember the old commercial, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. So, back to Stephanie Keto Person, who says that we may be producing ketones but not using them. I don't think it's any difference between keto and carnivore. I think that carnivore is a ketogenic diet. How can a diet that limits you to 20 grams or less of total carbs be any more ketogenic than a diet that limits you to no carbs? That doesn't make sense. I could understand somebody saying that a low-carb diet produces less ketones than a ketogenic diet. 100 grams of carbs a day versus 20 grams. I can understand that. That makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to me that if you go on a more extreme ketogenic diet, that your ketone levels would decrease. And as far as when we're using ketones or not, we use them in the normal course of our chemistry, not for us to decide. If you're not eating sugar, you will be in some level of ketosis. I would say most of the time. And that manifests itself, I think, most noticeably, at least it did for me. And if somebody were to ask me the question, well, Mitch, how do you know if you're in how do you know that you're burning ketones? Well, the place where you notice it the most is when your brain runs on ketones. I think it's 30% or thereabouts of our brain needs glucose. And our body happily manufactures that glucose for the brain through gluconeogenesis. And we don't have to think about that. Your red blood cells need some glucose. And your muscles, in the form of glycogen, probably need some. And we have, and I don't hold me to this number, but I think we have the capacity, the manufacturing capacity to produce about 600 grams of glucose a day if we need it. The beauty of gluconeogenesis is we produce exactly what we need. Try eating that much sugar and not a gram more than you need and not a gram less than you need either. You can't regulate things that closely, but your body can, because again, it's measuring things constantly. It knows. We need a little more sugar. Coming right up. Here it is. And not a gram too much. The way I know I'm in ketosis is how clear-headed I am. There is no doubt in my mind that a brain that's running on mostly ketones is going to be smarter, more clear-headed, more level-headed, less likely to be neurotic, less likely to exhibit the signs of mental illness. And that's been demonstrated over and over and over again, that ketones are the best fuel. Now, it doesn't mean you're always going to be in ketosis. Again, that's another one of those arbitrary terms. Where does ketosis start? What level of ketones do you need in your blood to be in ketosis? And when does ketosis turn into ketoacidosis and kill you? These are just arbitrary measurement points. Some people can be, it's like, you can't be a little bit pregnant, but you can be a little bit in ketosis. So I still don't understand. And if somebody understands that, let me know. And if you don't get, if I don't notice your chat or something, then just send me an email and say, here's the point that Stephanie Keto person was trying to make, saying that carnivore is not going to be in ketosis. I'll tell you one thing about carnivores I know for sure. I don't know a carnivore that measures their ketone levels every day. I don't know. I don't know anybody. Why would a carnivore measure their ketone levels? There's nothing they can change. I can understand why a person on keto who's trying to still eat carbohydrates and limit the number of carbs has to know when they've gone too far. So they have to keep making sure they don't go too far. They want to eat that 20, boy. Don't you deny me my carbohydrates. I'm still an addict. That's why they never cure their carbohydrate addictions, because they never abstain from carbs. You all know how I feel about that if you've been around me long enough. You cannot cure your carb addiction until you stop eating carbs. Period. End of story. There's no such thing as a little alcohol to an alcoholic, a little cocaine to a cocaine addict. And the same thing is even more true for sugar, being a stronger and older addiction than all the rest of them put together. So keto is, in my estimation, and this is why I don't have 100 million subscribers right now, because the keto community wants nothing to do with me. I'm an ogre. I'm the big, bad, bald-headed old fart that wants to take their treats away from them. These other people, these kind, good keto people, tell me I can still have 20 grams worth of this stuff a day, and I can make those 20 grams count, because there's 100 million videos out there that tell me how to make pizza crust and mashed potatoes and burger buns and chaffles and keto desserts and ice cream and all kinds of things, and low carbs, so I can still have my treats. I can't live without my treats. And that big bald-headed man wants to take my treats away. I'm not watching him. Unsubscribe. That was a conscious decision I made when I first started this. Do I want to be the most popular guy on YouTube telling everybody what they want to hear? Or do I want to be telling them the hard truth about how to fix it. Because nothing we've done for our entire lives has fixed it until we give up the sugar completely. No cheating. No cheat meals. No cheat bites. Nothing. And you will succeed, regain your health, lose the weight, and most importantly, obtain food freedom, and wondered how it ever bothered you in the first place that you didn't eat all this sweet garbage that everybody else can't seem to live without. So I'm not at war with the keto people. And for somebody who is not a hardcore carb addict, none of us think we are, but how many alcoholics think they're alcoholics too? But if they're still eating that stuff and still heavy and still on the diabetes spectrum, obviously they're addicted. Because they want to lose weight, they want to get over the diabetes, they want to get healthy. Just ask them, they'll tell you. So if they're not getting over that, if they're not able to go without the sugars, and I know so many people like this, then they are addicts, and they better start treating their problem as an addiction first. That's the cause. That's the root cause. And you can't deny that when you hear the reports of how the big food companies have hired all of these scientists whose job it is to make the food more addictive. If people weren't addicted to this stuff, they wouldn't be spending money trying to make it more addictive, much like the tobacco companies did with cigarettes. They tried to make these things more and more addictive. That's how the game is played. Most addicts deny that they're addicted. How many alcoholics have you heard say, I'm not an alcoholic. I can quit anytime I want to quit. Yeah, okay. I've heard that before. So quit. Why don't you quit? You've lost your business. You've lost your family. You're living on the street. You're homeless. You have no shoes. And it's all because of alcohol. If you're not an alcoholic, why don't you just quit? Well, I don't want to quit. Okay. All right. There's no logic when it comes to addiction. It owns you. It owns your thinking. It owns your logic, and it controls your every motion. No matter what you think consciously. Consciously, you're just rationalizing and justifying everything that the addiction makes you do. It's a hard truth, and a lot of people don't want to hear it, but I got to tell you, there are. And I'm beginning to gather quite a number of before and after pictures, which you guys are going to be starting to see pretty soon. It'll blow your mind, of people that have accepted this reality, taken it to heart, and wait till you see. Wait till you see the changes. Most of these people, you'll know them because they're always in the chat. They're always in the chat with the green names. So on Tuesday night, I kind of featured Peter, Papa Carnivore, last Tuesday. This Tuesday coming up, I've got another one waiting. I'm going to show you that, and you will not believe transformation. It's unbelievable. I hope that answered that question about Stephanie Keto Person. I'm curious now as to why she would think that, but I think, number one, you never have to. If you're a carnivore and you don't eat sugar and you don't cheat and you don't try to justify things by, well, it's net carbs and, they're not real carbs because they're insoluble fiber carbs. If you're not trying to play the game so you can keep feeding your addiction, not only don't you have to ever say the word ketones or ketosis, you never have to even think about it. It's just all gone on the way it should. And if we do ever build up too many ketones. Beta hydroxybutyrate is what a ketone is. If you didn't know, BHB, beta hydroxybutyrate. You just piss it out anyway. That's why when you first start on a keto diet and you're kind of a young whippersnapper, brand new at it, you go out and you buy yourself these keto sticks. And you pee on them and they turn purple, and you pray that they're going to turn purple, and you hold them up to the thing on the jar, and God, it makes you feel so good. It's like stepping on a scale. Wow, look how good I'm doing, you know. And then after a couple of weeks of that, all of a sudden they're not turning that purple anymore, and you're going, oh no, it's not working anymore. Well, what's happening is your body is learning how to process this stuff and use it, and it's not expelling as much in your urine as it was when it first started to see beta hydroxybutyrate flowing around. And that's a natural change. And if you really listen to people that have been doing it a while, they'll say those keto sticks, urinary measurement, are useless after a week or two. I discovered that 50 years ago when I first started Atkins and was trying to worry about being in ketosis. The cool thing about not eating any sugar is you're not doing anything at all that triggers that you need to worry about not triggering ketosis. You're going to be in ketosis. You can't help be. Anytime you're burning fat, which is how we live, beta hydroxybutyrate is a normal byproduct of that. So you're going to be in ketosis. Are you going to have extremely high levels in your blood? You may or may not, depending on which millisecond of the day you measure it, because it changes constantly. Which is why so many of these blood tests are useless. If you went back 10 times in the same day, you might get 10 wildly different readings on the same blood test. Because it does. It just, everything changes. You can see that on a blood sugar monitor. All right, next question. You know, I have a tendency to make long answers to short questions. And that... I've been there. Let's see what else we got here. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, there we go. Let's go down to the bottom of the chat. Bear with me a second. I'm looking for questions. Here's one. Ellen. Ooh, she says, I've got a good one. If ketosis is such a good state for us, why do you think we resist it? I get there. Then my mind wants to carb binge. Why would I want to sabotage myself? That's both an easy and a hard question to answer. Depends how you look at it. Do you look at it from a standpoint of burning energy, or do you look at it from a standpoint of reward and pleasure? Neurotransmitter standpoint. They're two entirely different systems. If you look at it from the dopamine serotonin angle, being in ketosis isn't going to take away the high that you get from having a nice little dopamine or serotonin rush. Why would it? It would be counterproductive in a caveman who needed to go out and hunt, who happened to have a lot of ketones flowing that particular day because he's eating the right food. He still needs to be motivated by the neurotransmitters to get his ass off the rock, grab the spear, and go out and kill an animal for food. So they're separate. I think they're separate systems. And I think that just because something may be better for the body doesn't mean we aren't going to need to be motivated into it. In fact, all of the initial uses in every living thing, every animal before us, the reason, the main reason, the A number one prime, top of the list, most important, can't live without reason. Why shit just feels good. And some things just feel better than other things. And then there's those things that just feel the best. I mean, we're all adults here, okay? I mean, it feels good to take, to sit in a nice warm spa, doesn't it? Yeah, it feels good. Does it feel as good as having sex? No, no. Does anything feel better than sex? Sex is the marker to which we compare all other feelings and pleasure. Is it better than sex? That's the thing we compare it to. Why the hell does sex feel so much better in every way than those other things that we do? It's because it is the single most important thing that an animal needs to do. The most important imperative is to reproduce. And not only does it feel better than anything for a human, it feels better than anything else for your dog. You all see what happens when your cat gets in heat. Try to keep them down in the house. No. It creates an urge stronger than any other urge because of its importance in the scheme of life itself. So in your question, Ellen, about carb binging and everything, we are ruled, first and foremost, by our emotions, our response to pleasure, and the neurotransmitters that stimulate these responses or stimulate an anticipation of these responses, even though they don't make any sense whether what's good for us or not. So in that respect, the urge to eat the sugar so far overpowers the fact that they're not good for us. In the drive to make us do it is because we prioritize pleasure over logic every day of the week. And you'll see that in every decision a human being makes. Do I want to do something that makes sense, or do I want to do something that just feels great? Let's do that. We'll put off that other shit till later. Let's do the shit that feels good now. I hope that makes some sense to you, but I think that's reality, and I think that's how it works. But it was a cool question. Cool question. I hope I answered it in a way that was meaningful to you. And let's see what else we got here as far as... I see Jerry Vodstush is here. Hiya, Jerry. How you doing? And Tom, Viking 442 is here. Aunt B is here. Jackie Metcalf is here. Super. Marion Wong is here. Nick Jones. Look at all these. Health Studio from Ireland. How you doing? Dobie Duke. Who else haven't I said hi to? I think I've got most. You got a nice little crowd here. 111 people. Mats Strulin gave me some... Sherry came up with part 2 of a question. Let me acknowledge this super sticker from Matt here. And hang on, I'll find it. Where is it? Where are you? Here it is, Matt Strulin. 40 kroners of some kind. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Mats. Always appreciated, my friend. And then I saw a question from Sherry right above it. Part 2, LOL. Oh, that first one wasn't enough for you, huh? I feel great in ketosis. Why does my brain want to do something that will make me feel worse? And after this, you can solve all the world's problems. Yes, I just answered that, I think. I think I answered that is that we tend as animals to prioritize those things that feel good over things that make sense, even things that affect our overall health. Doesn't seem to be as important as the primal drives that are caused by the dopamine release. And I would think, Ellen, that if you looked at it, and I tend to compare everything to sex. And I don't say that in a facetious, sexist, you're a man, men are pigs type of manner. I mean that if you're going to try to figure out physiologically why something happens, compare it to a biological imperative of the utmost importance, and then rank whatever you're talking about in relation to that. So when you talk about pleasure, which is what sex is all about, and that's why these different responses developed in the first place. Because if they weren't there in an animal and the animal could care less about reproducing, that's the end of the line. That's extinction. That's extinction. We obviously are the descendants of those that had a sex drive. Don't you think? Maybe I think differently than most people, but I think of everything in evolutionary terms. Everything that we are today had to be a survival benefit over a billion years of every one of our living ancestors, no matter what species they may have been at the time. We all come from the same source if you go back far enough. That's where the religious people start disputing me. And I don't want to change their minds, so I just accept that you believe what you want to believe, but I can't find any logic in those explanations. Sorry. And I don't want you to stop believing in it. But it's not explaining it to me in logical terms that my logical brain that requires things to make sense and fit together like a puzzle. Or I have to find out why not. That's how I think. And I always take it back as far as I can in looking for the root cause of anything, especially behavior. So sex drive, which is the ultimate pleasure-gaining thing for an organism, has to be ranked way up there. And we see that response even today in human males. And the stupid crap, the stupid, dangerous risks that an otherwise smart, successful man will take to get laid. Someday, a sitting president of the United States may be caught with his pants down in the Oval Office while I'm sorry. I think that happened already. People go, what the hell was he thinking? And I say, just like I talk about addictions, you're not thinking. When your subconscious takes over and is bound and determined to carry out its mission of getting the body what it needs. In that president's case, it was the strongest urge. When you're faced with carb addictions, it is the survival urge that controls you. Your subconscious is convinced that you're dead if you don't get sugar within a couple hours. Your conscious mind stops working. You are not in control. I can show you examples of that by the thousands every night in every lounge where every guy is trying to pick up every girl. I can show you an example of that careless, life-threatening, job-threatening, family-threatening behavior in the name of biological urges taking over. It is not hard to understand and certainly not hard to see evidence of. So, Ellen, the addictions and the cravings will win every time, even if they cause destructive harm. We do not act intellectually or logically most of the time. We are slaves to our emotions. The smart people know this, and every advertising campaign, political campaign, is aimed right squarely at those emotions to get us riled up and buy their shit and vote for their candidate. They don't often talk about actual issues, actual budgets, actual numbers. They talk about emotional issues. They rile people up. They tell you that the other party wants to push your grandmother over a cliff in a wheelchair. Remember that one? Anyway, that's the answer to your question. You want a human being to react to something? Make it an emotional thing. Make it a biological necessary urge, especially the strongest of those, and that is to reproduce the species. Hopefully that answers your question, and I hope I did that in an entertaining way. Oh, man. And it was a good question. Ellen, thank you so much. It's here somewhere. Where is it? I look at all the chat. Ellen, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Our super sticker. It says 3. Thanks a lot, sweetie. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Sherry came in with another one. Sherry, thank you so much, Sherry. She thanks me. Track ketones for my pro carnivore doctor. He can show what I do to stay alive with a serious issue that most die from by now. Next time you come in on the panel on Thursday night, remind me. I want to talk to you more about that, okay? I can't go into it without actually having a conversation with you, but it's okay to track ketones, and if you got a reason to, absolutely. But I think I do want to talk to you about that, so remind me, okay? Thank you. Let's check for some more questions. God, I'm thirsty today. I had a whole bunch of ground beef and plenty of salt. And this stuff, this San Pellegrino, is slightly salty. It's mineral. It's mineral water. It's got just a ton of minerals in it. It's got 15 milligrams of sodium listed right on the label. So salt water, I don't think it's the greatest thing to be drinking when if you're just thirsty. I think that perhaps ice water might be better. But well, so far I'm having fun answering these questions, and I hope that I'm making some points along the way about what I think is the most important thing to learn, and that I hope that I can impart into people who watch my channel, is kind of a different lens to look at all of this stuff through. And that is, the root cause of the reasons why things happen. Understanding those makes it easier for you to fix them if you know what's going on. If your car isn't working right, the first thing you need to do is find out which part isn't working, or you have no clue as to where to start fixing it. Viking 442 soy boys. Yeah, I'm not following along in that conversation. Sure, he likes my sex talks. I try to make them not real sexual in nature, but more medical in nature. Let's put it that way. But it's fun. It's fun to look into why. And I always say this. I say this, and I use Bill Clinton as an example many, many times. Because think about this. Here's a man who had achieved great stature in his life, but had a little, kind of a small reputation as a philanderer. Some might have even called him a rapist. Well, some have accused him of that. And then, every time somebody who has a position of power and money and reputation risks everything that they spent a lifetime building just to get laid, got to tell you something about the power of that part of the subconscious that controls those urges and the imperative, how important it is. See, that part of the subconscious isn't worried about how much money you have, how many people respect you. It doesn't know all that stuff. It's not concerned about. There is no risk as far as it's concerned. There is only accomplishing the mission. And the mission is impregnate somebody. I could have a big talk. All the men out there, every one of you, would be going, thank you, Mitch. Thank you so much. You have just said what I have wanted every woman that I've ever met to understand about men, but knew that if I opened my mouth and said those things, they'd never talk to me again. The men know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is a man trying to explain what it's like to be a man to a woman. We have different roles in nature. They say men are pigs. I say, yes, we are. We're programmed that way. And right away, the women will look at me and say, oh, I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with you. You're one of those men that you would just go to bed with any woman that would let you. And I don't care what they say, how holy they want to come off. We're programmed that way. Our job is, believe it or not, in nature is just like a tree. Spread the seed around. Spread the seed. You see it in the behavior of every animal out there. Impregnate as many females as you can. That way the species has the greatest chance of surviving. And by impregnating the most number of females, you'll get the most diversity. And by getting the most diversity, you will have a better chance of finding something that was superior to the last iteration. It is just simple, basic biology. And yet, when a man tries to explain that to a woman, they lose all respect for him. And we're just talking about. And the smartest women in the world understand that and use it to their advantage. And they know all the tricks, and they know how to get their man to just worship them and be faithful. God, don't get me started on that. I'll be here till tomorrow. It's just a reality. It doesn't mean you're good or bad. It means you are what you are, and that explains all of the behavior of both sexes. Women are just, they're programmed differently than men. They have a different job in nature. As much as the equality thing comes along, if you look at the animals, it's very easy to see that the male of the species has one particular duty, and the female of the species generally is to bear and raise the young. The females of the human species think that that's insulting for some reason. And no matter how much we want to create intellectual reasons and we want equality of the sexes, we are different. We have one little chromosome that's different, and in that is contained a lot of different programming. It programs a lot of different behavior. It's just reality. I live in a real world. There's no fairy tales, or just because people want something to be true doesn't mean it is true. But I think I've already gotten in enough trouble with all my girlfriends out there. Sorry, ladies. Hope you don't hate me for that one. Because I love you all. I love you all. I understand the differences and understand why there are man haters out there. And there are women who just understand. You can't change it. It's been that way since the beginning of time. Let's learn how to live it and use it to our advantage. Those are smart women. Scooby says, yes, that explains everything. When the limbic system takes over and the cortex is offline. It is absolutely true. Absolutely true. I saw that my buddy Mark Davis is here again, making me blush. Mark, do you need more puffing material? Oh, how did you know, Mark? Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate that. How you doing? Good to see you today on a Saturday. And thank you. Thank you so much. And the answer to your question is a unqualified, always could use some more cigars. So thank you. Much appreciated, Mark. As always. I also saw Sherry. Ketones Pro Carnivore. Okay, I got that one. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the super chats. I don't want to miss acknowledging anybody with those. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow, holy cow. It's 20 minutes to 5. Says I've been live for almost an hour and 45. Wow, where the hell? Where in the world did that time go, guys? Still got 100 people in here. That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, Sherry Morgan has a theory about carnivore, and I want to put that up on the screen. Oh, Sherry Morgan. Question. Where is that, Sherry? I want to put it. Here it is. Here it is. Question. My theory about carnivore literally heals your hormones. I legit have the cycle of a 15-year-old from carnivore. Do you think the carnivore Zen could be healed hormones? I don't think there's any doubt about that. I don't think there's any doubt about that. What it does, I think the term heals your hormones. I think the term, that's a tall question there, Sherry. I'll have to rise above it. I think the term heals hormones is maybe not the absolute clearest language to use, because your hormones don't get sick. It's not your hormones that get sick. A hormone is a compound. And there's no difference between a sick hormone and a healthy hormone. What changes when you're on carnivore is the level of the hormones in your bloodstream and probably the timing of these hormones. And in that respect, yes, you heal. In fact, I think that's one of the most important things that a carnivore lifestyle does to our physiology. It normalizes hormone levels across the board. Hormone levels that have been thrown way out of whack. And not just the hormones themselves, but to understand, really, and deeply understand, you have to understand the purpose of hormones. Why do we even have them? I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole for an hour, but I want to take a little detour here for a few minutes and talk about what hormones are. Hormones are nothing more than messengers. They're signals. They're the letters that the mailman leaves in your mailbox. They come from somewhere else, and the purpose is to get a message to you somewhere out there on that network of all the other things that happen to be in the same body that happens to be attached to the same circulatory system. So that if a fat cell somewhere down around your ankle needs to get a message to your brain that I've got plenty of fat in me, you don't need to eat as much, it's the fat cell that mails the letter. Dear brain, I can't hold any more fat. Stop eating already. And it sends that letter in the form of a leptin hormone, a hormone of leptin, a molecule of leptin in the bloodstream, and all of the leptin is addressed to the brain, basically, or any other receptor on any other cell that recognizes a leptin hormone when it comes swimming by in the bloodstream. And that leptin hormone, just like a mailman, although there's not a mailman, but the blood delivers it to a receptor somewhere in the brain that grabs onto it, and it reads the letter from the fat cell, and the brain then says, let's stop giving this human an appetite for a while. The fat cells tell us they're pretty well full. Insulin does the same thing. Insulin signals all over the body certain different states about metabolism, about blood sugar levels. The insulin controls the Randle cycle, about whether you're burning sugar or fat. It also controls the fat storage modes of your cells, whether you're in fat storage mode or fat burning mode. High insulin will not allow a fat cell to give up fat. It's in fat storage modes, and let's save up the fat. Low insulin allows the fat cells to give up their fat to be used as fuel. All of these different things in an optimally performing human being, all these different hormones, and there are hundreds of different hormones that do a myriad of different things, there's a level that they're supposed to be normal and everything works right. But when we constantly eat poison and sugar, we continually run with our hormone levels way out of whack. And what happens is not only are the hormones not in the right balance in the bloodstream, but some of these receptors on the cells get so overwhelmed that they basically become insensitive and stop recognizing the hormones themselves. So let's take this leptin hormone as an example of what I'm talking about. So you've got a hormone called leptin, the satiety hormone. The fat cells make it to tell the brain stop eating, basically. Simple to understand. Fat cells push it out into the blood. The brain sees it, pulls a receptor that's designed to recognize it, pulls it in. A bell goes off in the brain that says, we just got a letter from the fat cell, says stop eating. Brain tells the body, turn off the hunger. We had enough. That's how it should work. But if you're metabolically way out of whack, you can develop a resistance in the receptors to any hormone. Your brain can become leptin resistant, just like your cells can become insulin resistant. And we've all heard of insulin resistance. And that means that no matter how much hormone is in the blood, how much those fat cells are screaming, stop eating already. I'm going to explode down here. I've got way too much fat. I keep pushing leptin. I keep pushing that leptin out there. I keep pushing it out there for you. Why the hell won't you stop eating? And all of this leptin gets to the brain. The brain has shut. It has no leptin receptors available to recognize it. The brain's sitting there and it doesn't even know that the leptin is there. And that's leptin resistance. And when somebody just keeps gaining weight and becomes diabetic and gets their system all out of whack, they also become leptin resistant. They never get a satiety signal. And that by itself just makes matters worse. And then a 300-pounder will blow up into a 600-pounder. They must eat constantly. Nothing is working. And it's that imbalance in hormones, that development of hormone resistance in cells like leptin resistance or insulin resistance, that causes runaway things that are deadly and kill us. And yes, carnivore fixes and normalizes those things. And in that respect, yeah, it has almost everything to do with hormones, because the hormones are what's controlling all the actions that we need to do to actually stop eating the crap, start eating the healthy food, and be able to benefit from proper nutrition. So I hope that answered your question, and I hope I answered it in a clear enough way to make it a little more understandable to people like me, because I'm pretty much a non-scientist. I try to understand these things by analogies to things that I can understand. And I liken the bloodstream so often to a highway system or the internet or communication system. And I just liken hormones to letters, messages, and a mailman, and streets where the mail truck can drive on, going from here to there. And I think if we start talking about very complicated systems in terms like that, with analogies that make sense to us of things we're familiar with, maybe more people would understand it. I'm trying that at least. Oh, Mark Davis. Mark. Look at this. He overwhelms me, this guy. He overwhelms me. I can only thank you, Mark. I really, from the bottom of my heart. Mark's not getting anything from me. He doesn't need me for anything. He's never asked me for a thing. He's just been a generous good guy And it overwhelms me in a way, and I've never had anybody other than people that actually love me, like my family, ever do things like that for me. So I can't thank you enough, Mark. I sauteed petite beef tenderloin in butter for over an hour on the number 2 setting on my stove. Do you think these were yummy bites? If you answered yes, you would be correct. Oh, yes, Mark. Mark, that's I agree. I absolutely agree. And I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that because Mark is just, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing a little bit about him. I've talked to Mark on the phone a number of times, and we've talked about carnivore, and he's not really a carnivore yet. His life right now is in kind of an upheaval. He is moving to a new place. He's a stock trader is what he does for a living, and evidently he does very well for himself. Because if he doesn't do very well for himself, I would insist he stop giving me money. He's building a humongous computer system with 8 monitors to do trading, and he's considerably overweight. And I told Mark, I said, you know, I love you, but when you're ready to start carnivore, I'm going to be a hard ass. Don't make me come up there. Because I want to see him do well. I want to see Mark do well. And he's got a ways to go. And I think that maybe in a year from now, I may have some before and after pictures of our friend Mark, like the pictures that I've been getting in my Gmail from Peter, Mark Sr., and some others that I'm going to start showing on Tuesday night that are some of the most amazing, not only appearance transformations, but health transformations as well, that you have ever seen, And I'm going to challenge you, my friend Mark Davis, that I'm going to still be here in a year, and so are you, and we're going to be talking about your before and after pictures. So that's coming. That's coming. And it tickles me to death. Because I think this is the first time you've ever mentioned actually starting to dabble into or eating carnivore meals. So congratulations. Congratulations. That's a milestone, and I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled, that you're serious about this stuff. You're a nice guy. You deserve to be healthy as well as prosperous. Prosperous doesn't mean shit without health to go along with it. I would not trade places with a incredibly sick billionaire, not for all the money he has. I wouldn't trade my health for his. You can't buy the health. You can buy some doctors. You can buy being a guinea pig, but it's worth more than money to be healthy. So thanks again, Mark. I really appreciate that. It is coming up on 2 hours on this live stream. And let me see if I have any last minute questions. I see DS111 chimed in. How you doing, my friend? Terry is here. Mark is cool. Tessa Jetta. David Kim. Drone Shots. Jody, how you doing? I need the Mitch 5000. How you doing, my friend? Nick Sheeson has a question. It says here, hey, Mitch, is Kiltz gone to the meetup on the 25th? Nick, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't invite him to the last one. I love him, but Mike Seeley is the one that invited him, and he's over in Sarasota, which is closer to Tampa. I don't know whether he comes over here. I know that Boz didn't show up, and we thought she was going to. She then got her house all flooded in that last hurricane. But I don't know. I'll ask Michael. Maybe I'll reach out to him. But we'll talk about it. As of now, I don't know if he's going to be coming. And I know it would be kind of to get over here would really kind of probably take up a great deal of his day, where it's just popping up to Tampa probably didn't. David Kim, here's Ann B has a question. Are you now able to buy more gadgets to try for us? If you got a gadget you think that would be helpful for this, that I might be able to try, B, let me know what it is. I have a hard time finding new gadgets. I did put out a little community post about a smaller backup battery thing, less expensive than the bigger one that many of us got. It's not a cooking appliance, but it does relate to surviving power failures and maybe keeping your food cold for a little while. The smaller one wouldn't be ideal for that. It would be, although we'll run a small freezer for a little while and can be charged by solar, but it would be good for all the other little things that somebody might need for any power failure or camping trip or something like that, to charge up all your devices and run your notebooks and some lights and a TV or things like that for a while. So I put that up there. Too. But I'm able to buy gadgets, and I do buy some. But God, for most of us, a frying pan is enough. I keep trying to find things that are easier to clean, quicker, and most importantly, make the food better. Jody says, I hope drone shots. Hope you do okay. I hope the weather didn't get too bad down there next week with all the rain coming your way. Yeah, you and me both, Jody. I'll probably be all right here. We've had our community flood 2 years in a row, way back about 6-7 years ago when Hurricane Matthew came through. But they've since, you talk about flooding, the entire St. Johns River basin here in Florida flooded, and that's where everything else drains into. So nothing anybody can do about that. That was, very rare event, but they have fixed and rerouted so much of the drainage, and lately we haven't even gotten close. So hopefully it'll be okay. And if it isn't, it won't be. We'll survive. Well, listen, my friends, it is coming up on 5 o'clock. And again, thank you so much, Mark Davis, for the support. Very much appreciated. Sherry Morgan, thank you. Thank you, Ellen. And Matt Strulin, thank you so much for the super chats and supporting my efforts. Always a pleasure and always fun to see all of you. I hope I got to your questions, that I didn't miss any of them. If I did, I'm sorry. It's hard to keep talking and actually keep up with the chat. I do the best I can here without having a producer or a sidekick or anything like that. But it's fun. So with all that being said, and there was a lot said, we'll get ourselves a little traveling music here. Sit back. Have another little swig. God, life is good. life is good. Life is good. And most of us are, if not all of us, are living it to its fullest right now. So guys, I will see you tomorrow morning. More than likely. I originally didn't intend for this morning coffee with Mitch to be, 7 days a week every day, but it's turning out that way, and I really do enjoy it. So unless there's a real reason why something happens and I just don't get to it, like maybe might happen this week because of the weather and other things, but as long as I can do it, it's kind of fun to get out there. It's challenging to come up with something to actually talk about that people are going to stick around and enjoy watching. But keeps me sharp, and I think part of getting older is to continue to challenge yourself, challenge your mind, try to keep yourself sharp and thinking, analyzing. I think that's a great way to ward off, besides the diet, so much of the mental decline that we see in people, especially people my age. And I love the way Sean Baker always says, I'm pushing 60. Okay, Sean Baker is 57, and he's pushing 60. I'm 77. I'm full 20 years older than Sean Baker. So I can legitimately say, along those same veins, that I'm pushing 80. So when I want to sound older than I really am, to make a point, I say, and I'm pushing 80. But thankfully, I'm not 80 yet. And I've still got less than 3 years until I'm 80. So I'm enjoying the 77 for now. So many people my age are gone already, long gone. So many of them are so sick. So many of them are crippled up and miserable. So many of them are in nursing homes and don't even remember who they are. And it's very sad because none of them, my age, should be anything except alive, healthy, and of a sharp, sharp mind. And it's all got to do with diet. So don't ever let anybody talk you out of this for any reason. And I will see you on Tuesday night. Shouldn't be too stormy yet. So I pretty well say I'll be here on Tuesday night and looking forward to seeing you then. And until then, my friends, you know what to do. Take the rest of the day off. Eat meat.